Hello and welcome to episode 16 of a Disney Live podcast. My name is Rachel and I'm joined here by my co host, Missy. Hello, Missy.
Hello, Rachel, and hello, friends. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, we're thrilled to have you here. So, today we're going to be talking about all things California Grill at Disney's Contemporary Resort. Missy recently dined here with several of our friends, and so she's going to be talking about her experience. We're also going to be talking to you about the suggested dress code as well as how to get there. Also, on today's episode, we have one of our favorite topics, the top 5 pool bars at Walt Disney World Resort, as well as a question about the best way to make dining reservations. And I'll be closing us out with a tip of the week. So thanks for joining us. All right, California Grill is located on the 15th floor of Walt Disney World's Contemporary Resort. It is accessible only by elevator from the second floor where the check-in station is found. So this is an elevated dining experience. It's considered signature dining at Walt Disney World Resort, which means it's going to be a little bit different than most of the dining that you'll find in parks and at other resorts. But it is a fantastic place to catch view of the fireworks at Magic Kingdom and to also see other parts of Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World as well. So Missy, tell us about signature dining. So what does that mean?
So, Disney has a few different types of dining experiences. Of course, many of us who have been there before are familiar with the quick service experiences, which are when you either order through the mobile app or at a counter, and pretty much all locations you seat yourself. It's more like a fast food option, but certainly way more than just fast food. Then they have their table service options, and most of their table service options are extremely family friendly and theme park oriented. So, no matter what you're doing in the park for the day or what park you're in, you can comfortably just visit those restaurants in whatever your day attire is. But then they have a few more upscale restaurants that are a more elevated experience. And Disney refers to those restaurants as signature dining experiences. So that's what California Grill is. It's a more elevated experience, which also means you're going to dress a little bit nicer to go there. So Disney just asked you to dress a little bit more sophisticated because they consider this to be a more sophisticated restaurant. So, in my experience there recently, just last month, most ladies in our group wore dresses or slacks and a nice blouse, something like that. Most men were in collared shirts. I did see a couple nicer t-shirts around, but really they want you to have a nicer, more polished look there, just out of respect for the restaurant itself and the type of menu that they serve there.
Yeah, and the dress code is it's vague. We talked about that with Palo recently, the dress code. I want to say a couple years ago it was more specific on what to wear, but it does mention, this is an elevated dining experience. So as you said, dress accordingly. It also says clothing should be clean, neat, and in good condition. So that kind of reminds me of, the old Mickey Mouse Clubhouse episodes where they started out everybody neat and pretty. They say that, but they do specify no swimwear.
I think they used to have more specifics. A lot of restaurants used to specify collared shirts for men
Mhm.
or pants or dress pants, but styles change pretty regularly. And you often will have things in style that can be just as nice of a look, but not necessarily collared. Or for the ladies, there are rompers and shorts and different types of stylish outfits out there. So you pretty much can just, dress in your Sunday best, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. And they're just looking for a more polished look. Now, with that being said, this is still a family friendly restaurant. You can bring the kiddos there after a park day and have a relaxing dinner if that's the type of thing that you're looking for. If you don't want to clean the kids up and you prefer to just stay in your regular park wear, then that's great too. This is not the best restaurant for you on your vacation. But a lot of times when guests are dining at the California Grill, it's specifically for one reason, and that's because of the fireworks viewing that's available there. So not only do you have the opportunity to see the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom during the evening, but also if you dine a little bit earlier and you want to return that same day, you can go back to the restaurant and show your receipt. And they do have an entire outdoor walkway area up on that 15th floor where you can go out safely and see the fireworks with a really fantastic view. It's always surprising to me from up there how different the Magic Kingdom looks.
Mhm.
because they have set that stage perfectly for you as a guest from when you're down on the ground level and that castle towers over everything. But really, to me, when I look over towards the Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary Resort or even from Bay Lake Tower there nearby, you really notice Tomorrowland first because that's what's closest to you in proximity. And at nighttime, it is lit up so beautifully. You'll have Tron over there and Space Mountain and all of the other exciting attractions there that light up at night. And that really just makes for a pretty view also. And you certainly can see the castle very well. But it
Yes,
doesn't seem to
yeah,
be quite as much as of a focal point as it is when you're in the park. So
yeah,
I think that's just a little bit interesting of a tidbit and just a little bit different of a view. I remember years ago when I would be there, I did not think there was life beyond that Magic Kingdom in
no.
Florida. There was Disney sure as heck didn't take you beyond there in any of their buses. No one was going to backstage. And it took years before I realized, like, hey, you know what? This is not the end of the earth here. Like, there's life and
Yes,
everybody living their daily lives beyond there. So you do see quite a bit more beyond property there. I guess to some people, maybe that could take a bit of the magic away. I've had a few people mention to me they didn't like seeing all of the extra things, but I found it very interesting to see the lay of the land over the years there and how
yeah,
things pop up. I remember when the Four Seasons was first built. What was that, maybe 8, 10 years ago now at this point, maybe not quite 10, but it would seem giant there that you would actually see it from some points on Disney property. Now, up in these locations, you see well beyond that,
yeah,
but
yeah. You do, and I will say, for those that it kinda takes away the magic from in the parks, though, everything is so well done and so covered up that, if you visit other theme parks, you will notice the difference in how Disney disguises things as compared to other
uh
parks, that maybe you do get more behind the scenes glances when you're on a roller coaster because they just,
right.
it's the back of the building, but Disney does a great job with that. I agree with you. I think it's fascinating to see all the workings. I love Space Mountain is definitely my favorite attraction at the Magic Kingdom and one of my favorite attractions overall. So I love that it is such a front and center kind of from that viewpoint. I'll also mention too, obviously there's a wall of windows where the restaurant is. So typically with restaurants like this where you could have a fireworks view, a lot of guests will want a window seat, want to be able to see it. But with the outdoor viewing area, it's nice because you don't have to kind of fight and wait for those window tables. You do have access to go. I know that we typically try to plan our meals when we go there to where we're finishing up around the time fireworks starting or, during the fireworks, but you're welcome to leave your table and go outside. They're not going to bust your table for you while you're out there. They know they expect, they understand. The restaurant kind of clears out, and you start to see about 15 minutes before the fireworks will just start coming in, and they're shuffling through the restaurants. That is nice. You don't have to sit there and say we want a window table and we're going to wait for a while to get it. Because they do have that extra area for you.
And it is a pretty large space, and it is giant windows across that entire wall of the restaurant. So, really, there are no bad seats that you can't see out the windows at all, but there certainly are some that are better than others. It's
Yes.
also worth mentioning that if you gaze a bit in the opposite direction, you can catch a glimpse of Spaceship Earth over there, illuminated at night from those upper floors of the Contemporary, also. So, it's pretty fun just to kind of take a look around up there.
Yeah.
So we have mentioned that California Grill is located on the 15th floor, but we didn't really give you more specifics yet on how to get there. So I'll just backtrack a little bit. If you are coming from another Disney resort hotel, probably the easiest way to get there is to first get yourself to the Magic Kingdom. So if you're in a Magic Kingdom area resort, that's simple. You can hop on the monorail and if you're taking the resort monorail, you can go directly to the Contemporary. If you're coming from a resort outside of that area that allows you to use Disney's bus service to get to the Magic Kingdom, your fastest way to get there using Disney's complimentary transportation will be to take the bus to the Magic Kingdom entrance, but then either walk or take the resort monorail over to the Contemporary. So there are ways to get there at no cost. You can also use a ride share like Uber or Lyft or your own vehicle, but they are pretty careful about who they allow to park at the Contemporary Resort because of how close it is to the Magic Kingdom. If they don't keep an eye on that, they will have people taking advantage of that and trying to park there for the day and walk over. I know that's been an issue they've had to address in the past with guests trying to park at a resort for free
Mhm.
rather than as a day guest parking at the transportation and ticket center. So you want to make sure you have your confirmation number handy and know what name your reservation is under, whether you booked it or somebody you're traveling with or your husband or wife or spouse, whoever. Just know the name that the reservation is under because they will stop you at that guard shack on the way in to make sure that you are entitled to be there for that evening if you're parking at the resort or if you're being dropped off.
Yeah, I wanna mention with that, so the Contemporary doesn't never seems to have a huge parking lot to me, compared to some of the others. If you think we talked about all-star resorts on our last episode, huge parking lot. And so Contemporary, they do have to be careful about those spaces so that you when you park there, if you do have a reservation, you park there, they may tell you you have a 2-hour time limit. So be mindful of those things too. It's very convenient to drive your own vehicle, but there's so many different ways to get over there as well.
So once you arrive at the Contemporary, you'll just enter through the main lobby and just towards the end of the desk check-in area near where the entrance to Steakhouse 71 is located, you'll see an elevator. And that elevator will take you right up to the second floor, which is where the check-in for California Grill is. So rather than having everybody head directly to the restaurant and kind of crowd up in that area, they do the crowd control down on the second floor,
Mhm.
which I think is an excellent process. They have a very spacious area there because it's actually where it connects with the convention center. There's a lot of the ballrooms there that are used for convention center space. There's couch and seating area. So if you arrive a little bit early, this is also somewhere that you can freshen up. I know of at least two bathrooms in that immediate area there, very close to where the check-in podium is. So if you needed to freshen up upon arriving at the hotel, that's an option for you too. You'll check in just at the podium like you would any normal restaurant and let them know you're there. And then they will let you know when your table's ready. And they do have a separate elevator that they hold for their California Grill guests that they're able to call to have come to pick you up and take you all the way up to that 15th floor. So that was a very, very smooth experience for us on our recent visit there.
Yeah, it's important to know once you're in the restaurant itself, you come out in a narrow hallway and then it opens up right into the restaurant. You've got the kitchen on one side and seating throughout. So there's not really space for people to mingle and wait upstairs. So they are very careful and intentional about when they call you. As soon as they call you, you are going to go up that elevator and you will be sat immediately. Yeah, so that's important to note too. So yes, there's no way to get up to that area without going and stopping at the second floor. But as Missy said, there's restrooms nearby. There's also pretty decent sized restrooms if you walk more towards the convention side of it. You can also find pretty quiet space to get ready and some other bathrooms there as well. But yeah, I'm very familiar with that area. They used to have a Christmas dinner party up in the ballrooms every year a
Oh, that's
long
fun.
time ago. Yeah, so we used to go every single year when we would go at Christmas. That's where we would go to. So it's kind of I haven't been to any other events there in that, but it always makes me think of those Christmas dinners from as a kid when I go to the second floor.
That is a sweet memory. So for this particular trip that I had a few weeks ago, we had 9 of us and we went into this knowing, okay, we're not all going to be seated together. We had 2 reservations, one for 5 and one for 4. We knew the layout of the restaurant and we just knew, okay, this is not the really the appropriate kind of place to ask them, can you join our tables together? But when we arrived and we're checking in, of course, the cast members are very attentive and they care about what you're doing. And they noticed we were all traveling together and they said, oh, you're all together. Well, okay, well, that's fine. We'll let you know. And we said, well, really, you don't need to try to combine us. We understand it's not the type of restaurant where I would expect them to start dragging tables all over. But lo and behold, they called us for our tables at the same exact time. They took us up in the elevators together and as we walked out of the elevators and past the big glass cases of wine that they have on display there, we noticed the very first table center in the restaurant was set up for 9 guests, and that was our table. They had combined us together after all and placed us all together at a nice long table with a fantastic view looking out towards the Magic Kingdom. So
No,
that
you
was a
mean you
really
didn't
nice surprise.
Yeah, very much so. You mean you didn't strong arm them into doing
I did
so,
not.
and yeah,
I did not do
and you
that. I
and you
I, I did
arrived with
not
the
upset
expectation that
anyone.
you would be split up and the reservations you
We
made.
knew it very well, but I was not going to go to the length of pretending I didn't know our friends simply because they weren't seated with us. or or reserved in our same reservation. So yeah. So I was very happy with how that worked out. Now, with that being said, it was a little bit louder in there than I had anticipated. Not loud in a bad way at all. I don't know if it's just the acoustics of the place because of the big open windows and there's
Mhm.
not a lot for it to kind of get the sound level to be tampered down with. It was a lively crowd that night. People were laughing and smiling, that some were enjoying their wine. It made it a little bit difficult to be able to speak with everybody. Now, again, our intention wasn't to have a giant table of 9. I happened to be right in the center of that, but could only really converse well with the people seated really immediately next to me just because of how loud it was. It was not loud in a bad way at all. I don't mean that as a negative, but if you're somebody who's concerned about taking younger children there because you're afraid maybe they'll be louder, that's not the type of thing you need to be concerned with here. It is not like a fine dining, elegant experience that you must sit like in almost silence and just be whispering at your table. It's not that
Yeah.
type of a vibe there. So I don't mean that as a complaint, but it was something that I noticed.
Mhm.
And just, it wasn't even something written in my notes here that I had to review today, but talking about it, I did just remember that. So I figured it was worth mentioning. So the pricing for this at this point, and we are recording this in September of 2025, and it is currently a fixed price menu that you will choose an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. So the process does change from time to time. I believe, is this the 30th anniversary? I think, Rachel, do you remember? I know this
Yeah.
year was a momentous celebration for them.
Yes. So this is a special 30th anniversary menu that they have going on right now with this three-course meal. They also had back during the 50th celebration of the parks itself, they had a special menu there too during that time, which was also three-course price fixed. But right now they are currently celebrating their 30th anniversary. Yes.
Okay, so for this meal in particular, that is what the menu was. It was a special menu in celebration of that. Of course, they always have an abundance of wines to choose from also
Hmm.
if you're looking to do a wine pairing with your meal. That would be an additional cost to the meal. The current pricing that we paid was $89 per adult. They do have a discounted rate for kids of $39 per child, and of course, Disney speak, a child is a guest between the ages of 3 to 9 years of old. So if you have a 10-year-old, they're an adult. If your child is under age 3, they are welcome to share from your meal, but they will not be required to purchase a separate meal of their own. It is an option if you choose to do that, but it's not required.
Yeah.
They
And
did start. Go ahead,
well, I was
Rachel.
gonna say that price does not include tax or gratuity. So that is that price plus tax and gratuity as well.
And they do welcome some discounts like you typically see around property. I don't know exactly what they all are, but we had several annual pass holders in our group, and we were able to take advantage of that 20% annual pass holder discount there. So I wasn't too sure on that. I know sometimes places exclude it, and I thought for this special dining experience, maybe that discount would not be offered, but it was. So that was a pleasant surprise also.
Yeah, agreed.
So they start off with a type of bread service. We had some nice rolls. There was some kind of sun-dried tomato spread served along with them, but I actually enjoyed the salted butter that was served with it as well. I just had the salted butter along with my rolls, and they were delicious. It was around 7:30, I think, our when we were seated, around 7:30, 7:45 p.m. I hadn't eaten in a while. We had flown in that day. It was the rolls were delicious. I don't know
Yeah.
if they really were or not, but for me at that point, they were.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
And of course, that's not the type of thing that I don't remember seeing it on a menu. Maybe it was, and we already had it by the time the menu came, but it was a nice little addition that I wasn't certain would be there.
Yeah.
So for my appetizer, I ordered the ravioli. It's a Sonoma goat cheese ravioli. I'm not typically a giant goat cheese fan, but this was delicious. I really liked it. It was one large ravioli, and it was very tasty. So I definitely do recommend that. And there are quite a few other options I know on the appetizers. Rachel, did you have notes of what's currently listed
Yeah,
with the
I
appetizers? You want to
do.
run through those
So,
quick?
I also wanna mention, so you have the goat cheese ravioli. This menu has actually 3 dishes that feature goat cheese on it, 1 appetizer, 1 entree, and 1 dessert, so I think that's must be kind of a star of the menu that they have currently, which is goat cheese, which I'm a huge fan of, but interestingly, some of the other appetizers that are offered are rolls, sushi rolls at the moment. There is
Okay.
a surf and turf one, eel, and then a crispy tofu roll. So that is pretty specific. It takes a pretty
Well,
specific
it
palate.
is a California grill, so I
Yeah.
believe these are California-inspired dishes that
Yes.
we're focusing on here, so
Yeah.
that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and there's also a salad too as well, that has some marinated watermelon, chili vinaigrette, queso fresco, so, yeah, so there's a lot of fresh ingredients, and like you said, it's very California inspired, but if you're not a fan of those kind of things, $89 might be a steep price for you to pay to start out with that appetizers.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. So for my main dish, for my entree, I had the filet. They had a grilled filet, beef filet. It was perfectly cooked, perfectly prepared for me. I had ordered it medium. It was just right. It did come along with what they call roasted garlic potato puree. I would call them mashed potatoes, but I'm
Okay.
sure they were prepared in a way that was much more elevated than what I would prepare at home. They were great. There was some broccolini with them too, and some type of. It says there was a fig onion marmalade. I don't really remember
Okay,
that, but apparently it was there. There was like a sauce. I think there was like a truffle sauce with it of
okay.
some kind, like a demi glaze or something like that. Maybe it was delicious.
Yeah.
It was very good. I don't know if it's something that I would rush to get back there on a regular park. I know it's not something I would rush to
Mhm.
get back on a regular park day for. This is really the type of place you go for some type of special experience or celebration. So, for us in this case, we were gathering because we were going on a cruise the next day. We had a group we were traveling with. We all decided since we were sailing from Port Canaveral, we would stay at Disney hotels the night before because we are big Disney fans.
Yeah.
All of my Disney friends are Disney life people with me, and that's where we focus. So we just decided it would be a great place. We were a group of all adults. We thought it would be a nice place to sit and relax and have a meal. I was also staying at the Contemporary Resort that night, so it made it an easy choice for me. We weren't all staying there. Several came from other hotels or local homes that they own there, but it was delicious, but not something that I would say, like, I have to go back there to get that. It was very appropriately prepared, excellent food, but, when I'm at Disney World, like, that's not the first thing I'm thinking of is,
Right.
I need to go get a filet.
Yeah. Well, and I think this filet is pretty consistently on their menu from what I remember. Now it may have different sides or sauces or anything like that, but
Mhm,
I think this is a pretty standard choice for California Grill as far as what they
mhm.
have consistently. But they have a pretty decent entree selection. There's some pork tenderloin, sea scallops, some duck as well. There's a Wagyu strip loin and then lamb. They also have ratatouille if you're a vegetarian or just enjoy ratatouille, and some fish too to uh, choose from. So there's definitely a large selection that you could get. A lot of different taste palettes too. I know in the past they've had duck on their menu before, but this one that they have right now is a duck Thai curry. I don't remember the duck in the past having a Thai curry sauce on it or prepared in that way. So I think but I do think the filet is kind of one of their signature menu items that they're known for.
And they do have a separate kids menu as well. So, as we had mentioned, it is a discounted price for the kids, and they do have a separate menu they can choose from. I know there was a steak on that, some
Mhm.
type of glazed chicken, a
Yeah.
salmon. So, it's more than just your typical chicken tenders or burgers there. It is a bit of an elevated experience for them also. Uh, and their sides include Yukon Gold potatoes, roasted potatoes, green beans, they have a polenta for them, rice, there's fruit. So a lot of options for the kids also, even if you have
Yeah.
some a little bit more pickier eaters, there's something there for them too.
Yes. Yeah. And but it's interesting. Their entrees are chicken noodle soup and a salad. So that's kind of an interesting entree selection for kids as well. But
You mean the
I'm
appetizer,
sorry. I'm
right?
sorry. Yes, appetizer, not entree.
Appetizer.
Appetizer. Yes, appetizers. Here's kid. Here's a salad. And some kids, that's what my 2-year-old will eat a salad with me, but, my other ones will not, so that's interesting that they have those.
They
Alright,
did
so
have quite a variety of desserts
yeah.
also. So I ordered the pistachio chocolate mousse. It had a bit of a crunch on the outside. They said pistachio croutons. That was pretty tasty. It wasn't my favorite dessert ever. I don't think I'd get it again. I actually didn't finish it, which is a pretty rare occurrence for me. One of my friends traveling with me didn't feel like having dessert. And another thing on the menu that I thought sounded delicious was the caramel cappuccino cake.
Mhm.
I had a bite or two of hers. That wasn't the best either. I don't know if I just wasn't feeling it that night or what,
Yeah.
but several of us actually left our desserts unfinished, which is not common for our group.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was a little bit sad for me.
Yeah.
But I also was pretty full at that point from my filet, so it could have been that too. I'm certain it wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't quite what I expected it to be.
Yeah,
And I
and
think the
I
kids have an ice cream option. Maybe I would have just been happier getting one of the kids' ice cream options that night. I don't know.
well, I the so the for the mentioned this, I know I mentioned that there were goat cheese items. The entree, the goat cheese was featured in the pork tenderloin, has a goat cheese polenta that it's served with, but there was for dessert, a blueberry goat cheese cheesecake. I would have gone for that actually, so I would have been interested to see the tartness that was pulled out from that, in there, but with the kids' desserts, I was actually looking they have a Baymax in San Francisco, which is like an angel food cake with some vanilla mousse and a raspberry and blackberry gel. I That sounds really cute. I would have liked to have seen
I did
that.
not see anybody with that. No one, obviously, no one in our
None of
group
you
of adults
adults got
ordered
that.
that. And there were plenty of kids around, but I did not happen to notice that on anybody's table around us. But that's cute. That's a cute option. And that
Yeah.
it shows you that they are very kid friendly there as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, I and it plus playing on the California Grill, which San Francisco obviously is a made up city, but it combines San Francisco with Tokyo, so I can understand why that would be there, but that would have been something had my kids been there, they would have wanted to get it just because of it was Baymax, so that did sound like a cute dessert that they had.
That's fun. So our dinner, we finished up with our dessert shortly before the fireworks. I'd say maybe 15 or 20 minutes before the fireworks. And they did tell us we were welcome to stick around there at the table and relax if we wanted. They had offered to bring us coffee or more drinks, something like that. It had been a long day for us, and we also had a room, and we knew that we could see the fireworks from there. So we opted to not take advantage of the most exciting part of California Grill, and we did leave. Some of the group did stay. Some of the group who was not staying at the Contemporary Resort opted to stay and check out the fireworks grill, or the fireworks view, which is fantastic. They do, of course, pipe in the music to
Mhm.
go along with the fireworks. Make sure you check ahead of time in the app or online to see what time the fireworks are scheduled for your night that you're going to be there. Keep in mind that if it is a party night, either Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, there will be a different fireworks schedule than the regular scheduled Happily Ever After fireworks. So that's something to plan around also. But overall, we had a great experience there. I would definitely recommend it if you were celebrating something special and wanted to have a memorable meal. If you're just on a date trip type situation and you're celebrating and you wanted something a little more on the romantic side, it could easily be that too. I don't think I'll be rushing there anytime really soon because just to me, it's not the type of experience that's more of a cruise meal type experience to me that I'd take the time to get dressed up a little bit nicer on a cruise than I would at the parks. But for some people, it works out for as a perfect option for
Yeah.
them. So I do definitely encourage if you haven't been there, go ahead and try it out at some point. Just know what you're going to expect ahead of time so that there are no surprises. Don't roll up in your cut off shorts or athletic wear and think it's an appropriate place to have dinner.
Yeah, and I'll mention too, we talked the bathrooms there to get ready. So one thing that we do, which I've not taken my children to California Grill, I'll admit to that, but we have dined at Citricos, which is also a fine signature dining experience. So with small children, I always have a packing cube of clothes in our stroller just in case of accidents or they go running off in some water play area in the parks. So we knowing that we were gonna go to Citrus Coast that evening and the weather was decent outside, it wasn't in the 95-degree July weather, so we had packed up some nicer clothes for us in a packing cube in the stroller, and, when we got to the Grand Floridian, we just went to the bathroom and all changed there, so we still had a park day and were able to freshen up, so that's a great tip, that you can have. You can also rent a locker for the day to keep your stuff in if you just wanna go right from the Magic Kingdom over or from one of the other parks. It's also convenient from Epcot to take the monorail over to the Ticket and Transportation Center and then transfer over on another monorail line from there. So there's several options that you can have. Don't feel like you need to save it for just a day that you're lounging at your resort or, if there's something special going on, there's definitely ways to make sure that you can go and enjoy the experience.
If you're considering an afternoon break at your resort pool and you're considering what resort to stay at, maybe you want to listen to today's top five. Today, we're talking about our top five favorite pool bars at Walt Disney World Resort hotels. Of course, it's worth mentioning that the pool bars are intended in almost all cases just for guests of the Walt Disney World Resort hotels. Some of them are located outside of the pool area, which means any guests from anywhere are able to enjoy them. But if they are inside of the pool area, then they are intended for guests of that resort hotel. So we are not encouraging pool hopping. That is against the rules. We are not advising you to do that. But if you're looking for the perfect hotel for you and the make or break thing is where is the pool bar and what's it like, maybe this is your top five. So, Rachel, do you want to give us your number five of top five pool bars on Disney World property?
I will, yes, and, this probably made it higher on your list, but I Hurricane Hannah's at the Yacht and Beach Club at Stormalong Bay. Obviously, Stormalong Bay is the best pool on property, but, there are some quick service food items you can get there. I like that you kinda have to walk around to get to it. It's not, it's kind of in the middle of all the action there, so Hurricane Hannah's made my number 5.
Hurricane Hannah's is actually my number five also.
Okay.
So, and this is one that I was actually referencing in our intro there to this top five. Hurricane Hannah's is located outside of the actual Stormalong Bay pool area along the walkway that connects over with Disney's boardwalk. So anybody is able to walk up to Hurricane Hannah's, the pool bar, and get food or drink from there. They have a quick service counter where you can order, but then an actual bar with bar stools and a counter where you can sit to have a few drinks if you like. I think they have excellent options there, and I love the location, but also I hate the location because it's
Mhm.
outside of the pool area. So if I'm there as a guest and I want to get a drink, I don't necessarily want to have to go in and out of the pool area.
Yeah.
At Stormalong Bay in particular, you need to make sure you've got your wristband on that they give you when you arrive so that you can get back in, or you'll find yourself outside the gate without proof that you're a resort guest while all of your things, including your family, are inside. One great thing though is each time I've stayed there, I have had excellent service from the cast members. They do have servers in that area servicing guests relaxing at the pool, and they will bring your drinks directly to you. So that saved them. Cast members saved it there and
Yeah.
made it number five on my list. Your number four, Rachel.
So no, my number 4 is, Uzima Springs at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. I think their pool is just very pretty. It's gigantic. It's just a very pretty and serene area. So, they kinda have, like, the grass hutch vibe going on at the pool bar there, and, that one is located inside the pool. So it's just right on one side of it, and you can't miss the area there, but I just think the whole vibe of that area is very nice. What's your
Okay.
number what's your number 4?
So now that I'm thinking about it, as I'm looking at my list, my number four is very similar to my number five, and it is the Banana Cabana at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. Another option that's located outside of the actual pool area with a great seating area that any guests can go enjoy. They have a few frozen drinks that I remember getting there that were delicious, and it's just a real nice place to relax. It's not a common place, I don't think, for people who aren't resort guests to go because it's kind of out of the way. But if you're
Mhm.
touring around on the Skyliner and just having a break for a few hours or taking a resort day to tour other resorts, this is a place that probably won't have too big of a crowd and you'll be able to get a tasty drink or some snacks when you're there.
Yeah, yeah, I have not been to there, but I know exactly where you're talking about, and, it has a very different feel, I would say, from a lot of other Disney areas, and not in a bad way, but it just kinda makes you it really does make you feel like you're on the beach at a bar on the beach. So, the way
Right.
that
And
they
they
have
have
it
a
set up
seated
there.
area as well as the counter, like a
Mhm.
I don't want to call it grab and go, but just a regular bar counter where you can go up to the bartender, order a drink, and then head either back into the pool area or to another seating area around there. So
Yeah.
it's a cute setup. And I think a great addition to that resort that when they did the big refurbishment several years back, they added that
Mhm.
in. And I think it was a great addition there.
Yeah. Alright, so my number 3 is the Siestas Cantina at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Coronado Springs is my favorite of the moderates. I love the pool there with the ancient temple style, and I think it's beautiful at night. So I usually, if I'm going to go to the pool bar there, I usually go at night because I just think the ambiance there is really nice and lovely. And so there's nothing in particular that's super special about the pool bar itself, other than I just like the way that the whole backdrop looks.
And it is nice that it's right inside the pool area there.
Yes.
So as I'm looking at my list, I'm realizing more of them are not in the pool area than I realized.
Yeah.
Are they frauds? Is my list a fraudulent list
Well,
because
I
it's
think
not really pool
yeah,
area bars?
I've
What is
I've got
happening
some
here?
frauds coming up myself.
Okay. All right. Well, my what am I on? 3. My number
Yes.
3 actually is in a pool area, but it is one very unique instance because it's not the main pool area. So over at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, we have a few different pools there now, especially now that the Island Tower is open. The main pool is the one most people may think of, which is the with the volcano slide. But I'm talking about what I call the quiet pool there. And I'm quite sure it has another name and it's slipping my mind right now. But the quiet pool there that's over by the Tokilau building behind the Hawaii building where the concierge is. They have some cabanas you could rent there. There's a zero entry side of the pool. I love the pool itself, but I love that they have the little quick service restaurant and bar right there inside that pool area. The kids can go sit and eat their chicken tenders, and I can have a drink, and everybody is happy. So we've had
Yeah.
many great pool days there at that pool at the Polynesian.
I have to admit, I have never been to one of the pool bars at the Polynesian Resort. Yes,
What
I know.
have you been doing all
I
these years?
going to Trader Sam's, so sitting out on the patio there, but that is not a pool bar, so that did not make my
No.
list.
And of course, it is inside the pool area. You do need to swipe your band to get access to that area. So it is for resort guests only. But it sounds like Rachel and I need to schedule an overnight at the Polynesian at
I
some
think
point
so,
when we
I
get bored.
agree. I'll gladly
Eh,
take that.
I will put it on the list.
All right, so number 2 for me is outside of the pool area, but that is Bar Riva at Disney's Riviera Resort. The big reason that for me is that I love the menu there. It is a nice place. It is a seated kind of a table service area, and so there is the bar that you can walk up to and sit there, but they do have seats and you're waited on there, but they have a wonderful menu. We've gone over there together a few times as well. That's a nice
Yes,
thing if
we
you're
have.
at Hollywood Studios and you don't feel like having Hollywood Studios food because it might not be the best park for food. Just take the Skyliner over to
Right.
Riviera
And
and
that's exactly why we ended up where we ended up. Yes.
yes, go over to Bar Riva. So, this is a pool bar without the pool bar feel, but, it is very nice, and you really don't even I mean, you're beside the pool, but you don't really feel like you're at the pool when you're at Bar Riva.
Well, I love that our lists are so different. I really thought we could come in here. I mean, there's only 20 something hotels. We're each picking 5. How could they be so different? But they really are because I didn't have that one either. But you're great.
Okay.
You're great.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
right. Just in case you needed me to lift you up there a bit. I meant to say you're right. It is a great bar
Mhm,
there. The other thing I love about it is, and something we've discussed in previous episodes, if you're someone who likes to get a resort refill mug and you carry it with you for days that you know you'll spend some time at resorts, a lot of these pool bars have a refill station right at them. And Bar Riva is one of them. You could use your resort refill mug from any resort and fill it up there along with your meal or other beverages that you're ordering from the bar. So,
mhm.
all right, are we on my number 2?
We are on your number 2.
Okay. My number 2 is my number 2, not just because I've had a lot of fun there and I love their drinks, but also because I think the name is probably the best. It is the Drop Off Bar at Disney's Art of Animation Resort out at their big blue pool area. It's a big bar with plenty of drinks. They have frozen mixed drinks. I think it's a Jack and Coke, and there's got to be a rum one also. There may be like Captain Morgan and Coke. There's a couple different mixed drinks there. They also often have had Dole Whip when I was there. So tons of options. Great location right next to the pool. It is just outside of the gate, but again, apparently we've established that's a more common thing than I previously
Yeah.
realized. I don't know what I had been thinking when I started making this list yet. But yeah, the drop off bar, Finding Nemo themed right
Mhm.
there at Art of Animation.
You can't miss that one. You
Right.
go to Art of Animation, you can't miss it. All right, so down to number 1. My number 1,
Is your number 1 going to be my number 1,
I
Rachel?
I have a feeling it will be. This is technically a pool bar. Walt Disney World's website calls it a pool bar, but I would consider it a lake bar. Does that help?
I, I think we're at the same place.
Okay, all right.
I
So
get
my
your
number 1,
point.
Geyser Point. Yes, Geyser Point Bar and Grill, hands down, number 1 pool bar at Walt Disney World. Please don't go there and make it crowded. I don't want
Yes, worst bar. It's the
Yeah,
worst bar. No
horrible,
one go
horrible. That is
there.
not my word
No
choice.
one go there in the evening.
Water, and you have to walk by the pool to get to it, but that is about your only pool interaction once you're there. But they have a huge bar. They used to have margarita flights. We were there last time and they said they took those away, and the cast member that I asked said we wish they would come back. So everybody tell Disney to bring back those flights because they were seasonal and depending on the time of the year, bring back
So
those
now
flights to
we've
Geyser
changed our
Point.
minds. Please go there. Everybody go there. Join us there and plead
Write
for
a
the
letter.
margarita
Yeah.
flights. Yes.
But even more so than just that, the food, the bison burger, sometimes whenever I think about Geyser Point, I always get a bison burger, and now I want a bison burger. They are excellent.
So Geyser Point is one of those restaurants that I have so many great memories at. I could pretty much think of tables all around the entire pavilion area with specific memories of who I was there with and why we were there and what we were celebrating, that sort of thing, because it's just a standard to me of somewhere to go at this point. But specifically looking at it from the bar perspective, the pool bar perspective, I can remember staying there a few years ago at Wilderness Lodge and using the pool over on the DVC side, which I guess would be their quiet pool area, the Boulder Ridge pool. And they do have cast members that service that area as well. So if you are in the pool and you'd like a drink, they do come around taking orders and will serve you right in the pool area there. So that's very enjoyable. And you could also order the food from the quick service restaurant there too. So it's not just the seating in the actual Geyser Point pavilion, I guess you would call it. There is a quick service takeout window there also. So all sorts of options. Beautiful down there on the lake. I hope that we can get a similar type location at the new lodge they're building between there and the campground when that comes about. And certainly we will be checking out whatever options they eventually have there when the resort becomes a reality. But for now, Geyser Point is a favorite, does not accept reservations, so it's something you need to have patience and take your time for. It is a place that has it's open air. There's no air
Mhm.
conditioning. You really are out in this gorgeous stone and wood pavilion right on the lake. You do get some lake breeze, but I don't like eating outside when it's hot. If you've ever traveled with me and it's been remotely warm, you know that because if you try to make me do that, I will whine to you until it ceases and we go inside so I can be comfortably cool while eating. But Geyser Point is kind of an exception to that rule because unless it's really hot in the middle of summer, you have that breeze from the lake in the evening, almost all evenings. It'd be very nice out there. And if you're there in cooler months, they do have the heat lamps up in the
Mhm.
roof of the pavilion to kind of warm you up. There have been some nights there I thought, man, I wish I had a blankie with me because I could just
Yeah.
snuggle myself right up on one of these couches while I wait for my bison burger and wings or whatever else I'm getting there and settle in. So it really is a fantastic location, one of my favorite places in all of Disney World, but really all of Wilderness Lodges. I absolutely
Yes.
love Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah, and, you can see we have seen the water pageant from there, so you can see that. It comes by right close by, so you can have a great view of that. I agree about, the weather definitely plays a factor into it. I also make note, so, you can join a walk-up list or go and talk to a cast member, and they'll get you down. If you have a
Mhm.
large party, you will be split up. They do have big seating areas for parties, but the tables are kinda either you're kinda lounging, like in patio furniture, or the tables that they do have, they're kinda big and bulky, so expect to be split up, but they will try to make accommodations where they can sit you close to each other if you don't mind waiting. But if you do wait, there you can sit by the water and just enjoy, the peacefulness and serenity of it all. So, it's a kind of a total package place, more so than just a pool bar. It's a wonderful place to go and grab a bite, and, I've never been there in a bathing suit, so I don't
No,
think
no, I've
I've
never
ever been there, When actually, I
I
think
have been to the refill station just outside of it in the quick service
yeah,
window when I'm spending the day at the pool there, but I would not ever go into the actual lounge pavilion area of
yeah.
Geyser Point in a swimsuit, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Well, and I'm trying to think too. So I think between Bar Riva and Geyser Point, I've never been there when I've been an actual guest of the resorts themselves.
Okay.
So I always go when I'm not a guest of the resorts, even though I've stayed at both before. I
Bring back
always
home anyway, even if you're not
yes, yeah, have
technically
to.
sleeping there. Yeah.
All right, so those are our top 5 pool bars. If you've got a favorite, let us know. So today's listener question is what is the best way to make dining reservations? So advanced dining reservations, which are required at most table service restaurants. Missy and I talked about in our top 5 2 pool bars that are technically kind of table service, but do not require advanced dining reservations. So, when making advanced dining reservations, what is the best way to make those? And Missy, will you start us out with that?
So, Disney allows you to make dining reservations 60 days in advance of your stay. If you're staying at a Disney World Resort hotel, you could book at 60 days out plus up to 10 days, depending on what the length of your stay is. So, if you're spending 7 days there, you'll be able to book 60 plus the 7 days to include all 7 days on one day when you're making your reservation. They do have an option to call into the Disney dining team by phone, but that does not open until 7 a.m. Eastern time. You get a bit of advantage if you actually book using the app or the website because that dining availability opens 60 days out at 6 a.m. Eastern time. So for me personally, I would rather book on the app. I can check availability at different places and see what's available for the time frame I'm looking at, what times are available, restaurants are available. I just prefer it, and then you have a bit of advantage over waiting for the phones to open. I also recommend looking if you're not at 60 days out. If you call in, they're going to have the same availability that you have. So you might as well just continue checking online to see what there is. Now that they have a 24-hour, or they don't have the 24-hour cancellation policy for dining anymore, they have the 2-hour policy. I have been seeing a ton of dining availability open for the most high demand restaurants the same day of
Hmm.
reservations because people are canceling at the last minute. I think it is important to get familiar with the app before you travel so that you can use that feature when you're there on property in case there are any last minute reservations you need to get. So for me, it's a wholehearted use the app to book dining. What's your preferred way, Rachel?
I use the app. I also so interestingly, 1 week from the time of us recording, my next, dining window opens, so but I always have the app going as well as a web browser. I usually have my laptop out and have both of them going. Sometime 98% of the time, they both work just fine together, but sometimes one might be running faster than the other or, maybe the app if the app is having issues, I at least have my web browser going. So, and sometimes I just multitask. I do one day on the app and the next day on the my browser, and I'm just trying to going back and forth with that. Another thing that I'll say too, I think Disney has really taken guest feedback over the last couple of years about making dining reservations. There was a time when some reservations were absolutely impossible to get. People were hoarding them. There were groups out there of people selling, I'm not kidding, selling dining reservations, and Disney put a stop
So
to that.
gross. That's just
Yeah, it
so
was.
gross.
It absolutely was, and, one thing people were doing was they were putting the reservation under the name of someone else in their party and then making multiple reservations, with multiple people in their party and just holding on to them. And so, there were times when it was the 24-hour, cancellation policy, you would have to wait until 24 to 48 hours and hope to get it. Now, they have done away with that. When you make a reservation on your account, it is under your name. You cannot make it under someone else's name. So, one thing that I would suggest, we often talk about large parties because we travel with large parties. So, if you're traveling with a large party and you know that you're probably going to have to split up and make different reservations, have another adult have an account and be trying for reservations as well. When you are split up your parties, go ahead and decide, I'm going to be trying for reservation of 4, I'm going to be trying for reservation of 6. Go and split up your party and work on those together instead of having to make your reservations, log out and log into someone else's account and hope that the time is still there. So, and that's something else too. But over the last couple of years, Walt Disney World has done a lot of updates to their app, to their website. You can set a date range now. You can check for the entire week, which is something really nice. You can set other filters for resort areas or park areas that you're interested in. You can even set specific dining times as well that you want to see what's available only between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. on a certain date or during a certain week. So I think they have done an excellent job getting guest feedback and changing their system based on that.
I really have noticed recently that it works so much better than it used to be really glitchy. I haven't
Mhm.
seen as many glitches recently, except for the day the Beak and the Barrel opened reservations. That was kind of a disaster recently.
Yeah.
But with the exception of that, it's a very user friendly app and it's something you'll need to use once you're on property if you're doing any dining reservations or even being familiar with it for mobile ordering. So go ahead and get familiar with the app.
I agree with that. I also mentioned if there are reservations that are hard to get that you know that you want, try to plan those out for towards the end of your trip if you're staying on property so you have a better window open time to try and get that reservation. All right, if you have a listener question that you would like to have answered, please send us an email. We have two email addresses that you can send it to. We have a Disney Life at storybookdestinations.com or podcast at storybookdestinations.com. We would love to hear from you there and we would love to answer your questions in our podcast. You can also follow our socials. We have a Facebook group called A Disney Life, as well as on Instagram. A Disney Life Pod is our handle there. And you can also use that to find us on TikTok, where you'll see shorts of our episodes throughout the week. So, this week's tip of the week, I'm going to keep with our dining theme that we've been having. When
I
making
feel like we have already given them 100 tips this week. I'm not
There's one more.
We're just throwing
There's
our
one
opinions
more.
out there all
Yes,
over the place today.
but this is an important dining tip that you may not
Okay.
realize. So, when making dining reservations, don't forget to include your smallest travel members in your dining party. Even if you are traveling with an infant who is not going to be eating at the meal, be sure to include them with your number count. Walt Disney World bases their reservations and ability based on the tables that they have in the restaurant and the table sizes in the restaurant. So, help your cast members out, help the fire marshal out too, and include infants in your party size when making reservations. So, if you have five plus an infant, please make that reservation for a table of six. Walt Disney World will figure it out when you show up with an infant, what that means. But be sure to include the infants in your travel size too.
I've heard of some people being worried if they include their infant ahead of time, they'll be charged for them for a meal as a child. And that is not the case. With the exception of a few reservations that you prepay for, like Hoop De Doo Review, most of them you're going to be paying at the time that you're seated. So if your party number changes or if you have an infant and you shouldn't be charged for them, that's something that your server will take care of at the time of your meal. You don't need to worry about that at the time of making your reservations, just so that total number is accurate.
Yes, when you do your check-in on the app at a restaurant that is not prepaid, they will ask you how many adults, how many children ages 3 through 9, and how many infants, and if you need a high chair or booster seat as well. Same thing, if you are making reservations for a prepaid meal, they will also clarify that in advance too. So you don't have to pay for that infant in advance. You just need to include them in your table size. All right, so that's all we have for this week's episode, all about California Grill this week, as well as our top favorite pull bars and some more dining suggestions and recommendations for you. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you listening.